Hi guys, coming up today, the real reason WWE have suspended Braun Strowman and Vice TV have nixed an episode of The Dark Side of the Ring on Chyna.
Keith Lee's 24 episode has also been announced, and unfortunately Dwayne Gilbert Gill suffers a heart attack. I'm Adam Nicholas.
I'm Adam Wilborn, and this is the news. And we start off today with that news about Braun Strowman, of course, suspended after Monday Night Raw this week after putting his hands on Postman Pierce. The general consensus, or at least earlier in the week, seemed to be that he was purely being suspended to then be brought back to feud with Drew McIntyre and eventually face him at TLC. But that may not be the case anymore, with Dave Meltzer reporting on a recent episode of Wrestling Observer Radio that the reason why he has been suspended and sort of taken off TV for a couple of weeks is he's suffering from an injury, that he suffered a knee injury at Survivor Series. Meltzer saying words going around that he's injured, that's why WWE did the headbutt and suspension angle. Now, it does still appear that McIntyre versus Strowman is still the plan for TLC, but that whole triple threat matches to determine next week's triple threat with Riddle and Lee and AJ Styles in it was all done as a sort of cover just in case Strowman isn't recovered. And for me personally, Adam Nicholas, I'd much rather see probably any of those three face McIntyre at TLC ahead of Strowman. It feels weird, this one.
Yeah, it does, because these three would certainly probably feel fresher in that role, wouldn't they? I think, and three great candidates. In particular, I guess you'd point at the likes of Riddle and Keith Lee, because they are literally new blood to the front of the roster. Sorry, but yeah, Braun Strowman, I guess in terms of his knees, this has been an issue I think he's had for quite some time. Obviously, this specific issue might not be the same, but we know he was having problems a little while back. They were concerned about how long he could last as a WWE superstar in terms of, I guess it's just, he's so big, isn't he? Like,
yeah, exactly.
In terms of what he's got to carry around all day. And I guess you got to put that first. But do I want to see him and Drew McIntyre? I don't think I want to see that more than what I'd like to see any of those three, put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really excited, actually, by the whole Sheamus McIntyre storyline, which you sense is probably building to the Royal Rumble. Like, if I was booking the Royal Rumble right now and you're keeping the world champions as they are, which you sense they probably will towards the end of the year, something like Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan and Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus at the Rumble would be really good. So I suppose you have to put someone in for TLC. I get it, it's you plunder TLC, smash things up, but I don't know, they've sort of teased the whole McIntyre Lee thing for quite some time. Obviously, they're just sort of in each other's spheres around the time Randy Orton was just as long as it's not Randy Orton, basically, I'll be happy.
Well, I think the thing here is, I guess, if they're trying to add more to Drew, obviously maybe a big W over Braun at TLC in a brutal match might be something good, but I feel like we've seen Drew do lots of good stuff at this point. I feel like I'm convinced I'd rather see him wrestle new people, and oh god, please not Randy Orton again, please.
Well, this is what I was going to say before we move on. If you wanted to make Drew McIntyre look strong, instead of having him go over Braun Strowman, maybe you don't have him lose, considering he beat bloody Brock Lesnar in like 2 minutes at WrestleMania.
Well, this is exactly it. But hey, we're applying logic, and that's on us, Adam Wilborn. That is on us. But let's move to one of the people you did mention who was in a potential contender for Drew McIntyre, Keith Lee. Now, obviously, as we know, WWE, let's say it's been a difficult year for WWE in terms of obviously having to deal with the global bastard and the fact that the product has taken a bit of a nosedive. But one thing you can usually guarantee on being very good are WWE's 24 documentaries on the WWE network, and it seems we're going to be getting a new one featuring Keith Lee, which I personally am definitely looking forward to watching, because it may have been, as Simon Miller would say, some ups and downs for Keith. I was going to call him Keith Miller there, for Keith Lee on the main roster, but it seems he will be getting his own episode. He announced this via his Twitter yesterday. I'll just read you what he said. He said, "Amidst all the currents of this world, I am thankful. People close to me, the hashtag WWE Universe, struggles, victories, all of it built this so far. The people who helped create this little piece of me, I look forward to offering it to you, the hashtag Legion, hashtag Happy Thanksgiving." So, something to look forward to, at least in a world full of things where you might not have a lot to look forward to, Adam Wilborn.
Yeah, really excited to see this. Like you say, this is one of the things WWE does best. I even sort of believed Lana's Chronicle and made me think, oh, maybe she's a mid-wrestler and I just haven't realised. Yeah, I'm really excited for this. And with Keith Lee, I think the thing is, we all would say none of this is really his fault. He's just been booked really weirdly, obviously lost that epic music. Now he's got some good music back after that was unveiled at Survivor Series. But the whole make him NXT champion and NXT North American champion and then drop one of those belts and then have him lose and then move him up to the main roster and then give him that big victory over Randy Orton and then not really do anything with him for a bit. None of that is his fault. It's the way they've handled him. It's obviously the way Vince has treated him by looking at him and gone, oh, put him in I don't want to let him wear that or have that music. So I'm excited to see this. We're all big fans of Keith Lee. Obviously, we're very lucky to work with him back in the WCPW days. One of the nicest men in wrestling, I think it's generally considered. And I'm really excited to see this. But one thing that will not be happening is Vice TV's Dark Side of the Ring episode on Chyna. A lot of excitement about season 3 of the Dark Side of the Ring. I think they... it's probably one of my favourite things out there that's wrestling related but not made by a wrestling company per se. They've tackled obviously some very hard hitting subjects, and the speculation was that they were going to tackle the whole Chyna situation, but that is now apparently not happening. The producer Evan Huston, who I believe actually we've interviewed in the past, was talking to Wrestling Inc. and revealed the news that they are not doing it. They were planning on doing it. It's been nixed. Basically, what Evan had to say was there are no plans for an episode about Chyna for the upcoming season of Dark Side of the Ring. At the start of pre-production earlier this year, we became aware of multiple projects that were currently in production about Chyna, and thus we ultimately decided against pursuing this as a future subject. Also, as a sort of follow-up to that, Wrestling Inc. Have an interview with Chyna's longtime friend Anthony Anzaldo, who says that Vice did approach him about getting the rights to Chyna's story, but he signed a release and he's no longer giving the permission, so that was probably part of the reasoning behind it as well, which is a shame. Although, no doubt, if you are close to this person, and Chyna's is a tough story to tell, obviously, if there's already projects being produced about this, they probably don't want, they're not being given permission and they don't want to tackle a subject that they can't go into in full detail.
Yeah, I think that why these have been so good, these documentaries, is we've had almost like an unlimited access to the people they've been speaking about, and we've been given the dark side of the ring, if you will, the stories that maybe WWE and, say, someone with a more corporate image might not want to tell us. If they can't get full access, it doesn't really seem like it would make sense. And also the kind of the headache of them trying to produce something that doesn't have all the access you want, and perhaps potentially having legal issues later on down the line with, say, WWE or whoever indeed has the rights. I think it's a shame, because I'm sure it would be quite a fascinating story if anybody if you even read a little bit into Chyna's backstory at all, you'll know there's a lot to dive into there. But I think it's a shame, but ultimately probably the smart decision to not tread where you can't tread fully.
Let's be honest, there are lots more subjects that they can tackle that still make amazing television.
Yes, I think I would agree. It's not as if the world of wrestling doesn't have a bunch of performers out there with fascinating and probably dark understories to go with them.
Oh, there's only one skeleton in this closet, it turns out. No.
Anyway, let's move on to something a little bit more serious now. Because unfortunately, Dwayne Gill, who of course you will all know as Gillberg from the WWE Universe and WCW back in the day, basically he has suffered a heart attack. This news was broken via Twitter by James Ellsworth, who is presumably friends with the family, and was requested to give an update about it. And I'm just going to read what he said. Basically, he said that he just got off the phone with Dwayne Gill's wife. She wanted to let everyone know what's going on. He had a heart attack yesterday, but he's doing okay. He's doing good. He just got out of the ICU. He's doing very well, and just wanted to say that first and foremost. Said he's doing fine, and hopefully he can, and he should be okay going forward. Hopefully he'll be home this weekend and can start transitioning into getting back to normal. So obviously that's not the kind of news you want to be hearing about anybody from WWE's past or present. But it does sound remotely promising, I think, it seems like a positive enough message on something that obviously we don't want to see happen to anybody in the world of wrestling.
Yeah, a positive message to sort of conclude that there. Obviously a worrying time. I saw that sort of doing the rounds last night about Gillberg having the heart attack, but he's out of the ICU, he's recovering. Obviously our thoughts go to his friends and family, and we wish him well on his recovery. Especially in the current climate, you're still concerned when anyone goes to hospital because of the ongoing global bastard. But like you say, it sounds positive, and fingers crossed he will be back to normal, sticking his tongue out and doing all that sort of thing with sparklers very, very soon, because he was certainly a legend of my youth. I'll never forget Gilbert. Right, let's transition on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, we want to get in touch with this. First question today comes from Darkness, who says, with AEW hitting all the hints on CM Punk with Serena Deeb trying to do a GTS on Thunder Rosa and Mox and Omega saying quite a lot, do you think that CM Punk might be the one who attacked Mox last week?
Yes, it's definitely him. We can reveal it as an exclusive today. CM Punk is going to... No, I don't think it's CM Punk. I understand. I get it. I do get it. And I'm sure everybody would go mad if he ever does. And I'd love to be proven wrong in any of this sort of... Anytime CM Punk's name comes up in this sort of thing. I don't think so, though. Not for me personally. And I think maybe just let the sleeping dog lie until it comes and gives us the pop of the century, if indeed it ever does.
Yeah, as much as I would love this to happen, because my prediction for 2020 was CM Punk returning to the wrestling ring, although, caveat, it's ongoing global bastard, it might have happened, it didn't. It's not CM Punk, I don't think. I think no. the general consensus, and I love this booking from the Dudley Boys, is who I heard it from, of Kenta being the man, because of course, there's GTS there, of course, and he's the one who's going to be challenging Moxley, I believe, or wants to challenge at the very least, Mox for that IWGP United States Championship over in New Japan. I think that's a lovely crossover. Please God, let us get a New Japan AEW proper crossover thing. But yeah, if it's not Kenta, you presume it'd be some sort of hired hand from Kenny Omega rather than someone like a CM Punk. But we know it's not Eddie Kingston because he tells the truth and he said it wasn't him on this week's episode of Dynamite. Second question today comes from Wayne Martin, who says, thoughts on Brock Lesnar winning the Rumble to set up a face Lesnar challenging heel Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman.
I mean, an interesting twist on the tail. Not for me, Jeff. I'm not, I don't know. That wouldn't be my option. But then again, it does, as much as I don't want it to, it does sound like something that WWE would probably be mad into. Like, I think Vince thinking he could bring Brock back as a face just because he wants Brock back, generally. I think, and he probably can't wait to pull the trigger on this because he got something so good. Yeah. Of course he's going to want to do something to mess it up. So yeah, maybe you might be right. Not for me though. I wouldn't personally be up for that.
I will say Brock Lesnar is tagged in this tweet, so we have to be relatively nice. As Brock Lesnar's a lovely man. He's a terrifying lovely man. And like you say, Vince is so desperate, and it's a complete role reversal. Just like it would be, last time it was like, come on guys, cheer over because Brock's a dickhead, and now it'd be like, hey guys, Brock Lesnar's back. It's great news. I don't see it happening personally. If I was booking it, and I think with the ongoing global bastard, I don't think we're getting The Rock versus Roman Reigns along with all the other issues. It's Big E. Just let Big E win the Rumble. It's really easy and good booking. Big E versus Roman Reigns. Slapping me at WrestleMania. And I think, with the fact that Big E wasn't in the SmackDown Survivor Series team, that was just shellacked by Raw's Survivor Series team, that might be a bit of a clue that they're sort of protecting him. And it's just imagine if we had fans back and Big E won the Rumble. We could have 2 Rumbles, men's Rumbles in a row that were actually good. Just a thought, but then again, it's probably going to be Edge who wins the Rumble, so who knows?
Which, I mean, who's going to be against that, right? Am I right? Of course you're going to enjoy that. And let's be honest, though, if Roman and Brock do ever have a match, does he get the receipt for WrestleMania 34 where he got smashed up and completely and brutally in that main event? Imagine Roman Reigns mounting Brock Lesnar and smashing his head open.
Just call me the tribal chief. What? This was what we discussed backstage. Shut up! Right, final question today comes from Scotty Curtis, who says, on the release of the Young Bucks book, of course, Killing the Business, what is the best read? I will caveat that by the fact that Scotty says, other than Sidgwick's book, brilliant book, all about NXT. What is the best read when it comes to wrestling? I personally love, says Scotty, Kurt Angle's It's True bio.
Ah, very good. Well, the only ones, I think... Yes, if I'm not mistaken. The only ones I've ever read are Chris Jericho's books. I've read the first 3, I think. I read them way back when they came out. And enjoyed them. They were a good read because he's got quite a good voice. Yes, a little bit of embellishment here and there, but who doesn't do that? I know we both do it every now and again. So, not against it. Yes, I obviously with the caveat that perhaps perhaps he's taken a bit of a turn recently, Mr. Jericho, but I'll leave that for you to decide. The books were good read back then, though, and I would highly recommend them if you're into Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I mentioned Bob Backlund's book the other day because he made me buy it, and he's bonkers. But I also read when I was
How
younger.
much did he charge you for that again?
Not as much as Andy Murray paid for a knockoff CD in Times Square, so it wasn't the story we were all telling when we came back from WrestleMania, let's be honest. And I got a signed Bob Backlund book rather than some bloke's mixtape, so... But aside from that, I also had The Rock's, I think it's called The Most Electrifying Man in Sports Entertainment book, which is just a fascinating read because it's written in kayfabe in person from like the 90s, late 90s, I think. And that's a great read. But I'm actually going to try, maybe that'll be my New Year's resolution to read more books, because I read more like wrestlers' books, because I know Mick Foley's obviously a great writer, and I've never actually read any books of his. But I mentioned The Rock there, and he is part of today's and finally. He had to be, because he had a giant bloody inflatable float thing going on the Macy's Thanksgiving parade. I mean, as if he wasn't the most famous man in the bloody world. This sort of solidifies it. There he is, bum bag and all, Adam Nicholas.
I mean, they have also somehow, and there would probably be some debate about this, but they've managed to even pick the best Rock as well that they could have possibly done to put on the float. These floats always weird me out because it's just, that's so big. It's unfathomable how big they are. But all of those images we were getting from the various different ones, cropping into the feed slowly but surely, and then the one of The Rock just humongously there. I mean, if you're not thankful for that, then what can you be thankful for, really?
I just like the idea of someone in one of those big office blocks having a bit of a nap, waking up, looking out the window, there's just the Rock's face, Rock's eyebrows staring back at you. Bloody terrifying. But yeah, love this. Thank you to everyone who sent that to us on Twitter at WhatCulture WWE. And so you can follow both of us whilst you're on Twitter as well. You can follow Adam Nicholas at
It's Adam Nicholas, and I just love the idea there that someone might have played Jamiroquai's Deeper Underground, the old Godzilla theme song, as The Rock just started creeping a shadow over the office block. Amazing.
Well, I know what I'm listening to. I haven't listened to Jamiroquai for bloody ages. You can follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilmore. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. Let us know your thoughts on all today's news stories in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. We're going to look ahead to SmackDown later on today. And of course, there is WrestleCulture with a hashtag Bloody Good Quiz. But this has been today's news. My thanks to Adam Nicholas. Thank you for joining us. And we will see you soon.